Hi everyone, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Lovely sunny day in Newcastle today, Wednesday. I'd imagine it's pretty sunny and nice over in South Korea as well, but as you guys well know, I'm not there. I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I'm not there. But anyway, I'm not there, I'm not joking, I've dealt with it now. Luckily, there's lots of stuff happening here to get my teeth into, so I don't feel like I'm missing too much. Just a couple of Newcastle defeats so far. Or was it a draw against Arsenal? I can't even remember. Anyway, listen, we're going to get, you don't want to hear about that, you want to hear about transfers, what the current state of play is, where Newcastle are at, with just over 4 weeks of the transfer window to go. So before I get onto the video, please subscribe if you've not done already. Really pleased to have some new subscribers on board, and great to have you guys, so please do subscribe if you're new around here. Hit the like button if this is the sort of videos you like, so I know the kind of things you like, and as ever, leave your comments below and I'll endeavour to get through them. I've been trying to read comments from the last couple of videos over the last couple of nights, but there's been absolutely hundreds of them, so it's taken a while, but please do leave your comments below. It's great to see them popping up, and the next time I'm on a train, which will probably be tomorrow, I'll get a chance to look at them. So anyway, enough of that, into the video itself, and I'll get onto the striker hunt in a minute, because that's what you guys are mostly interested in. But let's talk about one player in the door here at Newcastle United this afternoon. I was at Newcastle Airport earlier at the private terminal to see with my very own eyes, and caught a quick glimpse of him on my camera as well, Aaron Ramsdale arriving for his Newcastle United medical. That is, of course, after Newcastle last night reached agreement with Southampton over a loan deal for Ramsdale until the end of the season, with an option to make that permanent next summer. So Newcastle have got the option. It'll be up to them to decide whether they want to keep him on, but they're essentially paying round about £4 million as a loan fee for Ramsdale to be a Newcastle United player for the coming season, and then they'll make a call on it next summer. Now, as I understand it, Nick Pope will begin the season as number one, and it'll be up to Ramsdale to wrestle the gloves off of him. I feel a bit for Ramsdale because there's been a lot of quite a big negative reaction on social media with regards to his arrival. Look, I think obviously supporters are frustrated that James Trafford didn't arrive, went to Manchester City instead. But that's not Aaron Ramsdale's fault. Ramsdale can only do what he can do, and let's be honest, yes, he was at Southampton last season who got relegated, but you know, he had a couple of years at Arsenal. He was obviously displaced by David Raya, but before then he was good. Last summer Newcastle wanted to sign him, didn't have the funds to sign him due to PSR. So I actually think, and I said this on my video a couple of days ago, I actually think it's good business to get him in now, because it's a loan deal. So you're paying £4 million, but you're not going out and spending £27-30 million like you would have been on James Trafford, eating into your budget. That money is still there and able to spend on other players. So I am for this. I think he's in England. Well, he's in England international, just like Nick Pope. There's not too much between them in terms of ability. I think Pope's probably the better shot stopper, and Ramsdale's better with his feet. But Ramsdale's only 27. It's still so young for a goalkeeper. I think he can improve under Eddie Howe like he did when he was at Bournemouth. And if anyone knows him and has worked with him before and knows his character and knows what he brings to the training ground, it's Eddie Howe and his backroom staff. So I think it's a good piece of business. It's a player they know well, and this is a player who was sold last season for £25 million. So for Newcastle to get him in for £4 million for the year, and then park that decision until next summer, put that in the back burner, I don't think it's the worst piece of business. At least you've got a player in that you know already, you know what he's capable of. And I think, yes, he's a good goalkeeper. I know he's come out a couple of times and said weird things like, I'm not able to concentrate for a full 90 minutes, and he's made a couple of bad mistakes. But I think a fresh start for him is good, and I think he'll do well here at Newcastle, and I think he'll push Nick Pope all the way for the gloves, and you've got two strong goalkeepers there. I would expect Dubravka to be allowed to leave off the back of that. So I was at the airport to see his arrival earlier. As you can see, I was positioned behind a bin. I was behind the gates. Wasn't allowed any entry, which was a bit frustrating. For whatever reason, I don't know. I'm trying to promote you guys, show that you are back in the market. You know, hopefully it helps with bringing other players here, etc. So I was, as you can see there, I was behind a bin, which made it a little bit difficult. I don't think people wanted me to get that shot today. I think it would be the best way of summing it up. But I don't think we were hurting anyone by showing that Aaron Ramsdale's here and in Newcastle to complete the deal. As I say, it's good business for the club, good character, and you guys want to know when you've got players in. We're trying to service the public. So On to the striking situation. Isak, I think it remains the same. I can tell you Isak hasn't been at the training ground. Certainly, when checked on Monday, he hadn't been there, I don't think, for a few days. What he's doing, I'm not too sure. But without doubt, as you all know, his head's been turned. I fully expect if Liverpool come to the table and offer a big offer, that deal will get done. It's just whether if Liverpool can come up with the funds or not. You know, I know Newcastle have set the fee at 150 and that's what they want. I think they'll end up doing a deal for around about 135, something like that, which is still smashes the Premier League record. I just think what's the point in having a player who's unsettled, who's unhappy, who's maybe causing some problems, unless Eddie and the chairman can do a job between now and then and get his head into the right space. What a job it would be, by the way, and he'd obviously have to get a pay rise as part of that. I've got a couple of mates who are like, just give him what he wants, get a year out of him. I just don't know if it works like that in football. I think once a player's head's turned, it's hard to get them on it. And we saw at the start of last season, both Isak and Anthony Gordon, you know, the body language wasn't great at times, and that was due to what happened last summer. So yeah, look, I can see why he's frustrated that he's not had the money he feels he deserves and he was promised, and etc, etc. But at the same time, let's be honest, imagine being unhappy earning £150,000 a week. Imagine being unhappy. What a life it must be. You wouldn't have a fence like that, like the one I've got behind me, would you? Anyway, so look, I think it all depends if Liverpool are going to stump up the money, and it depends if Newcastle kind of almost like allow him to go off. Newcastle say, look, do you know what, okay. So let's wait and see what the next couple of days bring. I think Eddie will probably want to speak to him, and of course Newcastle are back on Monday. I think it might be into next week before we see some movement on that one, which isn't ideal for you guys because that leaves you less time to get in a striker. But look, we know that you need two. Brentford return to training in the UK tomorrow. One source is telling us that Johan Wissa will not refuse to train. Will not refuse to turn up. He'll turn up. He'll refuse to train. So he's pushing for Newcastle. I still think there's a decent chance of that happening, but Brentford making it very difficult for Newcastle with their demands. Again, if Isak was to be sold and you're raking in 130, 140 million pounds, that allows teams like Brentford to hold Newcastle to ransom. So I think it's pretty crucial you try and get that deal done as soon as you can to have Wissa in as your number two. Benjamin Sesko's the other one. There's been multiple reports today that Sesko is preferring a move to Manchester United. I have to say we've been given similar information at Sky Sports. However, we've kind of sat on it to an extent. I think there's a lot of people speaking about this deal. There's a lot of agent involvement. It probably feels like there's a lot of games as well. And look, let's see what happens on this one. Newcastle really like him. He's a different sort of player to Isak. He's not got the pace that Isak's got, but his finishing's good. He strikes the ball well. He's a handful. He's a proper number 9, which Newcastle like to have, and I actually think he would fit in well. So, yeah, I'm being told, this is not from any sources at the club or anything, this is from elsewhere, we're being told that you'd prefer Manchester United. Look, I mean, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do if that's just another player picking another club. I mean, Man United, who are not in the Champions League, who finished like third from bottom or whatever it was last season, who have only added Brian Mbeumo and Cunha, like, are they going to be that much better? Newcastle are still by far a better team, but Manchester United have obviously got that sway, they've got that pull, the Manchester United have got the name, so let's wait and see. I don't think that's the end of that one yet. I think Newcastle will still try. They've obviously been in contact with Sesko's representatives, and I think they're willing to pay what he wants, so he would become like one of the highest earners on Tyneside if that happens. So I think that would be a good one. I still think, I've said it a couple of times now, I still think getting Nunez as part of the Isak deal would not be the worst thing ever, because it gets a striker in the door. He's unpredictable, causes defences problems, he's quick, he could be refined. I still don't think that's a bad idea. The Wissa one, I know it's gone a bit cold, but I still think there's a good chance of that happening because he's agitating to leave. The Sesko situation doesn't sound great at the moment, but what I would say is, if Sesko does go to Manchester United, then Man United don't look at Watkins, and then Watkins is open for Newcastle, and I think Watkins is a great player. I know he's 29, he's 30 in a couple of months' time, but I think he'd be a great option for Newcastle. I've always liked him, always scores against Newcastle, but just Premier League experience, and is he happy at Villa? Perhaps not. He feels like he's been pushed out a little bit by Rashford, and Rashford's not there now, but a couple of others. That might not be the worst situation for Newcastle. And of course, Newcastle came so close to signing Ollie Watkins 5 years ago. It was either him or Callum Wilson at the time, and I remember Steve Bruce had a choice. They opted for Callum Wilson. He did terrifically well, but he was a few years older, and you would have got a bit more out of Watkins. Watkins, of course, went to Villa. One was going to go to Villa, one was going to go to Newcastle. Wilson came Newcastle, Watkins went Villa, and the rest is history. So that's where we are. There's not a huge amount to add. I don't think we're anywhere with regards to Isak. I don't think Liverpool have made an official bid or anything like that. I don't think personal terms will be a problem, but I don't think anything's agreed. It's a bit of a grey area because Newcastle are away, and he's obviously back home here in Europe somewhere. Don't know if he's in Sweden, I don't know if he's here, whatever, but I've certainly not seen him the last few days. So that's where we are. At least you've got a player in the door in the space of Ramsdale, and again I'll repeat, Ramsdale is a good goalkeeper. Newcastle tried to sign him last summer. I think people forget that. I think there's just a lot of frustration that you missed out on Trafford, you missed out on other players, so it seems to be Ramsdale that's unfairly getting it in the neck with regards to his move here. Hope that brings you up to speed with transfers, guys, and I'll be back on the next video, hopefully with another sign-in. We're getting there bit by bit. Hopefully by the start of the season or the end of the window, things are looking a little bit better. Leave your comments below. Speak soon, guys. Take care.